Welcome to the ISTA Purity Technical Committee open meeting. So it's my pleasure as ISTA President to welcome you to this online virtual meeting, and I thank you for joining us on this occasion from all the different time zones in the world that we have here. So we have members of the ISTA Purity Technical Committee here ready to present some of the work they've been doing over the last years to you, and also offer you the opportunity for a Q&A session to raise things that are important to you. And if you can put your questions into the question box, that means that we can have a look at those and try to answer those during the session. So for me, as the ISTA president, I'm probably not going to take 5 minutes, but I'm going to hand over to Craig and give as much time as we can for the purity technical people to have a good discussion. So Craig, as the immediate past president of ISTA, is also the ECOM liaison to the Purity Technical Committee. Many of us within the ECOM, or all of us within the ECOM, are liaisons to different one or more technical committees. So with that, thank you very much for starting this meeting and arranging this meeting, Rojing. And I hand over to Craig to give a few more general remarks about the Purity Committee and his role. Thank you very much, Craig.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stephen. So on behalf of me also, welcome to this Open Purity Committee meeting. The Purity Committee is, of course, one of the key technical committees within ISTA. Many of the ISTA tests begin with the purity analysis, and before the purity analysis is done, none of the other tests can proceed. So they really are a key committee within the technical committees for ISTA. Before we move formally to the meeting, I'd just like to acknowledge and thank the Purity Committee for all the work they've done in the previous 2 years. I know there's been some lively debates around some of the rules proposals and other decisions that the committee is having to make, and I'm sure they will continue for the next 12 months. But I'm also sure that with all the hard work of the committee, those discussions will be brought to a fruitful conclusion, and we will see more rules proposals for the Congress in 2022. So with that, I will hand over to Rojing and wish her a good meeting for the Purity Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks, Craig. Thanks everybody for attending Purity Open Meeting. So in this meeting, we ISTA Purity members prepared some update and some presentations that takes about first 40 minutes. And we will give 20 minutes at the end. So anybody have your questions, you can put in a questions box. Then we will get those as much as we can to answer those questions. So so I'm Rojing Wang. I forgot to mention I'm the Purity Chair. So today with our panelists from Purity, we have Vice Chair Andrea Unit. We have members Erica Ekman, and other members. I will see Ariel Carrier is here as well. So we may have other members joined already. So for Purity, we mainly have 4 types of programs. So this is we already have a brief update, but I just want to refresh everybody. Purity have mainly 4 areas we are working on. So one is, of course, ISTA Universal List is managed by ISTA Purity Committee, and also the Purity Committee in the past published ISTA Pure Seed definition. Then our main work is work on ISTA rule proposals, which has at least 4 chapters is under Purity Committee. So currently we are working on a few proposals from last year, and until now we're still working on them. One is soil testing. We try to come up with some common consensus for define soil particles and to have uniformity in soil soil test. The other one is a reduced test. We worked from 2020 until now, and we're also planning to work on how to report on purity retest. As you know, Purity also deliver traditional training. One is seed mixtures, another is workshops. We also currently have 2 special projects. So now I will move on to say how many members in our Purity Committee. We have 15 members. So 15 members is really not sufficient for all the work we are doing. So another vehicle for people, if you wish to participate, is the work. And also if you say there have some issues you want to address or contribute, you can join working groups or project groups. Even you are not a member, you can work in any of our programs you wish to join. So that is a 2-way you can contribute committee technical work. One is as a Purity member, another one is working group. Only difference between these 2 groups is Purity member have voting rights and the working group member doesn't. But the work will be very same. Anything you can contribute, welcome. The next one, we start to introduce some of the work we are doing. So the first project we want to give you some idea is we are planning to work on is a revision of chapter 11. So this one I will hand over to Erica. He is the project lead. So Erica, you may give some more introduction about this project.
Yes, this project we started, I think last year. I was getting into the Purity Committee elected last year in 2019. We are starting to do the revision of chapter 11 because there are some things that are not right in the wording. There are other chapters are changed and have affected this chapter. So therefore, we have making with the group have made a list of things that have to be changed in chapter 11. Things like in our chapter 11.10 is still standing. Weight determination instead of 1000 seed weight, what is now the chapter called in the ISTA rules. So that we have to change. So therefore we're going to make a rules change. And this we do with more things. We are going to discuss it with the group. All the points on the list, what we have to change. And then we're making rules change proposals. And that goes to the TICO of the Purity, and the members can agree with the changes, and then let's go to the rules proposals next year, I hope. Okay, thank you. If there is anybody that sees something wrong in chapter 11, please email me. My name is on the ISTA website in the Purity Committee. Back to you, Roaching.
Thank you, Erica. So anybody have a question, you can put in your question box. And also ongoing, if you have any comments or anything you see you want to suggest this project group, please contact Eric. So next project we are working on is inventory of seed references and publish frequently asked questions on ISTA website. So this work was led by Andrea Unit. So now give to Andrea, she could give more introduction about this 2 project.
Sorry. Thank you, Rujing, for your friendly words. I'm head of the working group of inventory of seed references, together with Debbie Meyer from Sacramento and Rujing Wang from Canada. We are trying to bring together information in literature and in internet sources to make it available for the seed testing community. We are on the way to discuss of how to establish such an inventory. We need some clarification of general points in that. So we are still discussing a little bit on the basics. The first one of those points is, how should the access later on be to all this information collected by the ISTA committee? Should it be limited to ISTA members? Should it be opened to the worldwide against a fee, for example? All these things about the availability must be discussed about in the Purity Committee first, but later on also with the ISTA community. Other things are, on the one hand, yes, for sure, we want to collect information worldwide. On the other hand, we have also the problem of the languages. So do we list all the literature we find, even with a risk that those people searching for information, seeing something of interest, later on they bought a book and they see, oh, I can't read very much because it's not a language I understand. We also have to think about some peer reviewing, maybe. What will we recommend on that pages in these lists? Sometimes there are references, they are dealing only with seeds. Other references, you find only few pages that give a little but high interesting information. Should we list also such things? There is some very special literature. And so there are many decisions, very basically, how we have the structure on this lists or tables or however it will look like. And that is already the next question. How can a structure of such a database be? Do we then, near all that author and title information and registry information, also give space for comments by our colleagues, information on languages, on quality of the content? So there are a lot of thoughts that have to be made and discussed before. Next, more technical things is then how to install such information on our ISTA website. Therefore, we need the support of the Secretariat. That should be not a general problem, but there must be clear thoughts about the structure. And next then, how to update and to maintain such a database, which is also a quite huge workload for future time then. Let me say a very first data collection out from workshops that we held and other events. I started to make a basic structure, a basic small collection of resources to make a starting point in that group to discuss about structural and other things we have to discuss before really going in detailed work. We have to clear, I think, quite a lot of details. And so therefore we are at a little bit more than a starting point, but we are quite basic still here. But thank you, Debbie and Rujing, for making first discussions with me together, and I'm looking forward for going on with that project. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So those two works are requested by ISTA members. They want to have more references to be introduced or available on ISTA website. So we will keep working on it under the lead of Andrea Unit. Next one is another project we are working on. It's a reduced test. Axel, are you ready to give some introduction of your project?
Rujing,
So,
I know from some emails from Axel that he might be having trouble connecting, so I don't know if Axel, you can unmute now or not, or if you would like Rojing to share your presentation so that we can deliver it for you. I'm not sure what you'd like us to do, Axel.
Probably I just go to mine, then we go back to reduce test if he can fix his technical issues.
Yep, good idea, Rojing. That'll give, maybe Nadine can help Axel in the background, Axel. Thanks, Rojing.
Okay. Yeah, so the other project we are working on is a soil test. And this is based on the econ, the scanning the environment. A lot of countries need soil test for their vital requirement. So last year, 2020, we started working on this proposal. The objective of this project is we try to define what is a soil particles and also provide uniformity on soil test and its report upon a request. So our anticipated outcome is if we can got consensus, have a similar definition or uniform definition on soil particles, and also we want to have a clarity in ISTA rules on testing report of soil test. So this work has been worked on since 2020, and we will continue working on this year. However, we have a few things need more consultation and discussion. We hope in 2021 November we can submit a proposal. So that would be ideal situation. So next thing, I would like to give a very brief introduction about one of the special projects, which is conducted or led by Purity Committee. So ISTA funded project is 19-1. This project have a collaboration with the Advanced Technology Committee, ATC, and Germination Committee. So 3 technical committees work together. What we try to achieve is to assess what are market available technologies and what can be potentially used for seed testing. So the first stage of this project, we did a survey in 2020 September. Unfortunately, as the plan, we sent out a survey because of pandemic. The participant is not as high as we expected. So we are planning to have another stage to reopen the survey. But here I'm just tell the survey result. You can see from the participating laboratory, the testing need for seed testing industry rated very high is other seed high throughput, other seed determination, pure seed testing, classification, germination is very high as well. Then the other testing need could be seed identification. So you can see this pure seed classification, germination, seedling classification, seed classification, those all rated very high, want to have advanced technology. So here we refer mainly is the computer vision, image analysis, AI type of advanced technology. And from we also surveyed technology provider. So many of our companies, they participated this survey. So you can see they also indicated either they currently can do this type of testing or they have potential able to do this type of testing. Then we also asked the question about motivation, why they need this type of technology. And from the lab, the motivation mainly is so from what I can see is the ranked number one is they feel some testing is time consuming. The second factor is labor intensiveness and also the training. So those are ranked first three factors. The motivation for the lab, they want to apply newer technology or AI technology. So the obstacles from laboratory is to implement this kind of technology. They ranked high. The obstacles from the laboratory is lack of the funding for new technology application, lack of expertise in research and development, and the lack of human resource to support this kind of activities. And we also asked what would be potential solutions from the laboratory. Many of the laboratory expressed their interest to work with ISTA TCOMs. Like 57% of response would like to have some kind of solution from ISTA TCOMs, and almost the same amount they would like to collaborating with the researchers. And also have 42% of people, they can also want to reach out to manufacturers, and the last one is to find some funding to support this kind of activity. So you know that this percentage doesn't add up. It's because we allow multiple choice, not just one choice. You can say, get the idea what potential solution could come from the survey. For the equipment purchase from the survey, we got the response to indicate when they purchase equipment, the top three things they want to consider is a fit for purpose, affordability, and throughput, testing throughput. And here is all the technology providers who participated this survey at this time. So we have 11 manufacturers participated this survey. All of them are interested, 100% of them interested on application in seed testing. So we are glad to see many manufacturers willing to help the implication of the newer technology. So I'm not sure Axel same spec. So I probably gave time to Axel before I go to next project. So I say Axel's phone is muted. So now I go back to Axel. So Axel, you can talk about your reduced test. Okay.
Hello, Ruijing. Hi there, all of you. I got a question. I can show my presentation right now.
Oh, okay. If you want to share your screen, you can share your screen, and I just need to stop share my screen. Then you can share yours.
I already did. He can share his screen.
Okay, and I did already. You can see my screen?
Yes, I can see it. Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so this is the first slide, and I will come back to this because it's the final slide, so to say, the summary from the whole thing of this reduced test project group. So I just have one question because of technical problems, I had no chance to join the session before. So I'm talking to the whole open meeting, right?
Yes.
Wujing? Okay. Then I will talk a little bit about the steps we took with our project group to get results. So first we started at the beginning of February, and it was a collection of notes of the where reduced sample sizes or expensive seed or valuable seed, small seedlots also are mentioned in the rules. This is just a little part of it. And then as well a table of the possibilities already given in the rules to test with reduced sample amounts. And then I put questions to the project group members. So this is the first attachment with the first mail, and this was the second one. Here is in a table shown what tests are already in the rules and are possible. So it is the purity test, the other seed determination, and the other seed determination for species difficult to identify. And so the question was, is to reduce something in the purity test, and there is no possibility to reduce something. The purity test has to be done as it is in the rules stated with the 2,500 seeds or the number of the weight is given in table 2C, column A4. In case of other seed determination, there is the usual thing, the complete test. Then there is a possibility for the limited test. And now the limited test is only for some species to look for. And then the reduced test and the reduced limited test with less than the whole amount to test in the complete test. And here it is shown, it is on the demand of the applicant that they can ask for this test when it is possible. And as well, here in the other seed determination, the species difficult to identify, there it is the decision of the lab in agreement with the customer. And so on. I don't want to go through the table in detail, but this was one thing important to remember, what is already said in the rules. And then there were a few quiz questions for the project group members, and I just read them out here. Do you think it is useful to give a clearer definition as it is given in from the bulking and sampling committee about small seedlots, and that refers to the smaller amounts to test in the other seed determination. Must it be clear, understandable and verifiable rule as well for the sampler? And will a clearer definition be applicable to all respectable seedlots? And then can you suggest a clearer definition as the pure and bulking committee give, that is already in the rules right now? And if yes, please give a first try. And then the question, is it okay for you to do for you, or do you see problems for chapter 3? That was the first question. And do you see problems for chapter 4? And if yes, please name the problems. So the outcome was a month later, and I tried to summarize it in a table where project group members answered. And there, the first column was the question, and the last column was the result of the members who answered. And then it was so that some questions, almost all agreed, had the same opinion, and other were maybe 50-50. And then I suggested for further activity that the cooperation with the Balkan Sampling Committee that was already suggested seemed to be only useful for me if we want to change the rules in respect to a test in our scope. And I didn't see the case that it's the case right now, because half of the group are thinking the rules are okay like this. So this is the current status, and or was it at that time? And so I asked for more details and to give further input from these members that had a question to the or want to change something. And then in March to May we had a chat discussion, and in this discussion were arguments, some were some questions and arguments, and but it was no concrete suggestions how to change a wording in the rules till now. And there were comments that we should leave the rules as they are from some members who originally questioned this. And so I made a slide for the pure presentation, and it was the reduced test project group with the question and the answer. And then I got suggestion to improve it, to give this definition that's already in the rules for the small seedlots, give it on this slide, and that was the way to get this slide. And now I just want to show this slide that says in the current rules it is stated under 2.2.14, small seedlots are seedlots of high value seed where obtaining a submitted sample of standard size could have a substantial effect on the quality of the remaining seed lot. High value seeds includes, but is not limited to, hybrid vegetable seeds that are sold per seed, or seed that is not commercially available and is used for research or for higher generation multiplication. And now again the question was high value seeds, small seed lot size. Is there a better definition necessary or possible as given in 2.2.14? And there were many arguments in favor of this existing definition, and there were till now no concrete suggestion how to improve that or another definition that refers to small seedlots or expensive seeds. And another question was, are there any problems with this definition in Chapter 3, Purity, 4, Other Seed Determination, or 10, 1000 seed weight? And after the discussion, most members felt that there is no need to change the rules. And till now, again, no concrete suggestions for a change were given. So right now we need I would say there was not every question answered, but we need a suggestion how to improve the rules, because most members of this project group are thinking that it is a good definition and is sufficient for the rules how it is right now. So this was very short, my presentation from the reduced test project group.
Thank you.
Should I take back my screen?
Yeah, Nadine is doing it. So it seems I already shared my screen. So I just gave a very last one for project 1. We will do another round of survey. The summary of the survey, eventually we will make it available to all the participants, and if possible, we will publish in ISTA media. The last project we are doing is it's going to start. So this project I want to mention in case anybody wants to participate as a working group member. So this project is to develop digital reference materials for other seat determination. So we will work on revise previous ISTA universal list. So now we're going to give more material available to identify species on ISTA universal list. So that has 130 species. So if anybody want to participate, so this would be a good time to join. So the project have 2 stages. So first stage is training. After that, and we will divide the species, and each author will develop their own material within a 2 years period. Maybe some collaboration among labs would help. Some lab could generate images and some lab may not, but they have expertise in identification or describe seed features that all can work together to generate these identification materials. So that is project 2. So this is all presentation part of it. So now we are pretty much, so we have another 20 minutes. It will open the floor to participants if anybody have any questions, or maybe Steve, you already see some questions in question box. Then depending on which question, then the purity member, whoever have answer could maybe respond.
So thank you.
Now I'm just stop sharing.
Thank you, Rojing, and to all the members of the Purity Committee. That's gives you some of the things that have been going on. And one of the things within the committees are the questions that come to the technical committees, and I think it's very important that you've created this group to be able to have a question and answer on the new website that ISTA is working on. So not only would we have the questions, but the answers, so that can be shared with everybody. So I think that's an excellent initiative for your group. And one of the things that I know that the work that you ended up with was to help define soil. And that was a request from the ECOM, because many laboratories in different countries are also using the ISTA results on phytosanitary certificates that trade around the world. And although already we can tell people the percentage of soil that we find, sometimes people say, well, what is soil? So I think that that's an interesting topic for you and others, and some people may have questions on that. And one of the things I know has come as a question is, in these days of COVID, how do we best help the labs with training. So I don't know if that's something you, Rojing, or Craig could answer. Is the plans for, or how easy it is to do virtual training for purity, which is a very practical thing. Is that something you could help the members with, Rojing? So I don't, would you be able to reply, Rojing, or would you like Craig to reply?
Oh, sorry, I thought this question for Craig. Okay. Have all members and Craig, they can add more. So I think training in purity committee is very important function and very important activity as well, because other seed determination and purity testing, they all require seed identification. So that in the past, we have one workshop in Hyderabad 2019. Andrea provided that workshop. And also in a past workshop, seed identification always one of them. However, seed ID or purity analysis is very practical. So traditionally we do workshop, because the workshop we can have sample prepared and participant can use sample to do the exercise. So now, because of COVID, so we have no, maybe for some time, we couldn't provide such a workshop. I'm just wondering, and purity committee, we will have an internal discussion as well to say what are the possibility to provide other type of training, like virtual training. Is virtual training can play a role in purity analysis or seed identification? So we are exploring possibilities. Maybe others have other more to add?
Yeah, so maybe I can just add that Rojing is correct. That so maybe this question may be a week too early, but that's fine. On Saturday, well, Friday of this week, Saturday for some of us, there will be a discussion around training, because I think the Purity Committee and certainly the Executive Committee recognises that training and seed ID is a key part of what we do, and a key part of the purity analysis, and something we need to be focusing on. Hopefully the discussion will start off with what do we actually want to do in terms of the training. Is it training in specific families, or is it actually going through the process of how you identify seeds? So that's a key question that we'll be discussing. And then of course we need to lead on to, in this world where face-to-face workshops are not currently possible, how we achieve that if we can't come together face-to-face. So I would expect some of the discussions around that would be, how can we use technology to deliver the practical aspects? Some of the ideas may be around distributing samples beforehand, as we do for the proficiency tests, using online cameras to actually allow the participants to see what's going on remotely, and also whether there's the possibility of using expertise within labs. So if we're training people or giving people workshops who may be new to seed ID, if there's their expertise locally who could support those workshops locally, so we have a combination of the two. So those are all things that will be discussed at the meeting on Friday/Saturday, depending which time zone you're in.
Thank you for that, Craig. And you know, as Rojing mentioned in her talk, the mixtures training samples that have been prepared by Purity and before that PT committee, they go out to labs. They can be used as reference material. There was a question in the chat box of what do we mean by reference material. For people in seed testing labs, we're not talking about the transgenic or varietal purity, we're talking about being able to identify the seeds morphologically. And it's important for the seed analyst to be able to recognize the crop species under identification and distinguish that between other crop species and weed species. The online pictures as part of the ISTA PTs help in that identification. And the universal list that Rojing talked about and upgrading is another online tool that's there already for people. I don't know if Eric and others can see some of the questions in the chat box, but I know some of those are targeted towards Eric about chapter 11 and the coated seed, which is the coated seed chapter. But some of those, it may be, like you said, Eric, that you need to follow up with individuals. So if individuals want some feedback, to please provide their email or send it to the ISTA Secretariat, and then that can be forwarded to Rojing to follow up with committee members. Are there other questions you can see there, Rojing, that you'd like people to answer today?
I see one comment. One comment say, I would suggest a webinar on seed identification for distance virtual learning opportunity, especially for individuals that cannot travel to workshops. So one of the comments just say the webinars could play some role, especially for those people who cannot travel to workshop. So that's just one comment. So it's good to indicate to a participant or who attend this workshop. So Purity Committee treated your question very seriously. Any question came to Purity Committee before we go back to you, is usually have a group discussion. Usually Purity Committee have consensus to have consistent answer, or at least a few people confirm same answer before we send to you. So I think that is one of the work. Another thing I want to say, the question is from end user is very important, because you use ISTA rule every day for your testing. So your eye very well be very sensitive to anything you don't say is clear or could have misinterpreted. So many questions come to Purity Committee. It became something, if we couldn't answer, became part of our working project to review the rules, and many rule reviews or proposals comes from those questions. So I just want to let people know the end user question is very helpful sometimes for clarification of the rules or improve the rules. I don't see any more questions.
I think, Rojing, one of the things there, I think asking for the virtual training opportunity, I think that's a good question, and I see that was from Debbie. So I think you might be incorporating Debbie into the planning for that. So, but I totally agree with Debbie that I think that would be helpful to labs to have some webinars and some basis in some of these seed IDs. And one of the other questions about where to get reference collections from, I think that's an important one to be able to deal with, especially in a newly established lab. So that's something also that I know the purity analysts always guard very well, their own reference collections, but they need to be validated against reference material. So I think that's also something we could look at from ISTA's point of view. And I think providing those mixtures is something where you can get material that has been through a validated source or part of the ISTA PTs. So that's a useful question for you as well there, Rojing. I'm not sure if there's other things that you'd like to cover before this session comes to an end, or if there are things you want to ask Craig to cover for you, Rojing, but I was just keeping an eye on the time for you.
Yes, still have a little bit of time. So I saw that question is about difficulty for seed collection. I think that is many labs facing the same problem. So the reference collection is just like equipment for seed testing lab. So that's a good topic. Maybe in a future webinars, talk about where to get the seed collection, how to get seed collection, what you need to do after you collect some seed, and what are the common pathway to collect seed as a reference. So that could itself could be, to me, could be a webinar we can talk about, organize a discussion in the future. The last comments I see from Debbie as well, just say, can we have a place on ISTA website for posting on Euro seed identification that the purity committee provide answer to requesters so that all people can see. So that would be another one from our lab as well. When people don't see a seed very often, suddenly an unfamiliar seed pop up. After they did identification for a long time, they couldn't see it again. If there is a website, it could collect all those difficult seed identification together. It might be used for future references, or for the analyst, they can go there quickly to look. So that is a good comment as well. So I think at this time, the internet world, so those kind of joint efforts to put some reference together would be helpful to analysts as well.
I think that's a good request, and it's the Secretariat is updating and upgrading the ISTA homepage and website and the capability and functionality. There's a meeting this week with Andreas and the Secretariat that I will be attending. So we've talked about members only sections or areas where people can post information like that. So that's something I will also find out a bit more about this week and feedback to your committee and other committees as well. So it's good that people are asking these things so that we can make sure that ISTA can provide these things to the membership to ensure that we move forward together and help the labs, because that's one of the important things and the bonus of being part of ISTA as an association is the collaboration between all the members. I mean, before your session comes to an end, I certainly would like to thank all of you here today, and also recognize that a lot of this time is all being put in as voluntary time on part of people's day job, and it's really helpful from the host organizations and companies and seed industry that support ISTA in doing this. So it really is much appreciated. And you know, this session online is the first of several open committee sessions from the TCOMs, the 20 TCOMs within ISTA, reaching out to the community. And please keep aware of the events on the ISTA website, because there are others coming up in the coming days. So you don't need to come back to me. You don't need to come back to me again at the end of the session, Rojing. So feel free to close the session when you're ready. But Craig may want to say something too.
Yeah, I see we still have 3 minutes. I would like to ask the last question, then we can close. So I saw a question there say, are all small seeded lots in high value seed lots? So this might be a question for Axel. I could guess that if there are not enough seed to perform the large seed number, should all consign high value? So the question is, are small lots all high value? Maybe somebody can respond this question, then we will close.
Okay, the question goes to me and I can't answer it right away because
Okay.
I don't know what's all on the market. As
Okay.
long as I know, small seedlots are usually very expensive, but I don't know if it's always the case.
Okay, that's fine. There, some of the question, if we couldn't answer, we could follow up because we see people's name show up, and also people ask what is the reference material. So this is mainly the seed identification morphological reference material. It's not genetic material. It's not genetic acting editing material. So those are the last question I saw. Okay, so now give to Craig for closing remarks.
Okay, so at the start of this presentation, I said that the Purity Committee had some many varied and interesting discussions, and as you can see, that some of the things that the Purity Committee are working on don't have easy answers. So I'd like to again congratulate them on their perseverance and all the efforts, as Steve has said, the voluntary time they're putting in to come up with solutions which will benefit the entire ISTA community and seed sector in general. So in closing, I'd just like to thank Rojing again for her leadership of the committee, supported by Andrea as vice chair, and of course all the work and efforts of all the members, some of who have presented today, but as you would see, there are 15 committee members who are all working very hard to achieve good outcomes for Purity and for ISTA. So on behalf of ISTA, thank you very much, and I wish you good work for the coming months.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rojing. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.